I feel like I need to go back to a base. I always have a strong longing to ground myself. I never really feel like belonging anywhere. But this feeling of never really feeling like you belong anywhere, that you can't really ground yourself or root yourself somewhere, it makes you want to jump to one thing to another. Jean-Paul, how are you doing? So in this video, when the universe puts you at a different path, it's only to make you realize you are actually already at the right path. So, which is quite interesting. So that actually refers back to the last 2 weeks that I've not been again and again not very consistent in uploading new content, creating new content. Mainly had to do because of work commitments, but also the distractions of my mind, and that's why I do this personal development mindfulness thing, because naturally I'm an overthinker, I'm a deep thinker, and probably you as well if you are listening to my content. And we must realize something about ourselves that keeps us in the flow, because eventually that's kind of like what we're all looking for. That's kind of where the magic is created, when we can stay in that flow, when we can stay in that zone space. So the distractions of my own mind. So my last video was about mental health, social isolation thing, and I must take full responsibility that I didn't really took the time to really promote that video, and I spent so much time creating that video. In most of this video I spent a lot of time creating these videos, like getting out to the countryside, take an hour or an hour and a half getting there, start shooting, creating the content, which can take several hours, half a day. Editing the content can take up another day, and then of course uploading, optimizing the video, everything. Every video can take hours and hours and hours to create that. Now, which may sound like a very interesting hobby, which is all nice when you are fully content with where you are at work related. I think most creatives are never really content with where they are work related, financial related. So in the back of our minds we always say to ourselves, like, wait a minute, I'm doing all of this for what? When we don't receive that instant, recognition or financial rewards and all of that, which of course as human beings we all want that in some way. But I must also point out that since I've not been very active, my channel has been growing, and also a couple of my product reviews has actually been taking off quite well, and that actually gave me some interesting results that I've not gotten before. Well, I was distracted and knocking on different doors and venturing onto different paths, only to realizing I was at the correct path. It takes up a lot of time, a lot of hours, and it always feels like I'm not getting back what I put in. Of course, you don't get paid by the hours you put into something, you get paid by the value you put out in the world. And I don't want to go over this again, but in one of my last videos about the millennial generation, when you step out of a corporate job because you feel like you're getting exploited, to only getting back at the bottom for doing some really basic things, so you have more time to do your other things. When you're at home, it's another thing that got me distracted. Like, since I've been here in London is an awesome place for me personally to visit, passing through. And this passing through stage has been going on for quite some time now. And I ask myself, okay, so where do I feel at home? Of course, you go into the philosophical stage, like, yeah, home is where the heart is at. Yes, of course, it's true. My heart is in nature. But my roots, my real roots, are still in Zeeland, southwest of the Netherlands, near the coast. That's where I grew up. So another distraction I got is like, you know what, I kind of feel like a longing to go back there, to find a place. So I've been looking up for different kind of jobs in that area, because I think like, hey, if I want to go back to that, I feel like I need to go back to a base. It's kind of like, I think like a lot of high sensitive empaths are missing in their life. The deep thinkers who are a little bit between, somewhere between the clouds and somewhere between here, half here at Earth. Maybe high sensitive starseed light workers. They always feel that. I always have a strong longing to ground myself. I never really feel like belonging anywhere. That's a bit of my challenge. Not sure if you can relate. Please let me know. Simply drop a comment below. And this feeling of grounding, belonging, somewhere rooting myself, has been going on for a very long time. Hence, getting out in nature and everything. I seek for that connection with the earth, and I must do a lot of effort to create that, to find that, to experience that. And that effort, of course, doesn't always pay off instantly, financially. Although that's of course another illusion I talk to myself. It's more like the feeling state, the sensation state. It's going to rain a little bit. I hope that gives you a little bit of a smooth sensation, but it's good because now people are leaving the park with the dogs and less noise. But this feeling of never really feeling like you belong anywhere, that you can't really ground yourself or root yourself somewhere, it makes you want to jump to one thing to another. Jumping from one job to another, seeking maybe different business ventures that promise like faster results and everything like that, and then you go into that, you dive into that, and you're like, yeah. I think you probably can relate to it. And then to only realize, like, wait a minute, what I've created so far is actually showing me that I'm on the right path while you're not looking. So the real number insight I want to give to you, I think many of us can relate, is that we jump from one thing to another. We don't feel very rooted, grounded, belonging to anywhere. I don't feel like I belong in this city. I feel like I belong in London. Neither do I feel like I belong to the UK. Do I belong to the Netherlands? That's not a question. Because right now things are going on in the Netherlands that kind of also disgust me. I don't want to go into this right now. But there are also things I totally not agree with. It's what's going on at turning restrictions into laws and taking away people's freedom, and more social unrest is occurring. Every country has currently his own crisis going on, and then I look back to the UK and I think like, hey, everything is still okay when it comes to restrictions here, which can give you still a little bit of a freedom to some extent. But what I wanted to say is that what we must realize as deep thinkers, overthinkers, intuitive empaths, high sensitives, is that when you find that flow, when you feel like you're in the zone, whatever that means to you, sometimes we must just experience that for ourselves. We must commit ourselves to stay connected with that satisfaction. Now, satisfaction is something different, like going after instant rewards, because let's be honest, because that's another challenge we are currently facing, many of us, is that when you do the work that gives you that satisfaction, or that stay in that flow state, which is awesome, but it does not always release a lot of dopamine. When I'm saying like doing the work gives you a dopamine level of 0. Watch a movie, binge watch a TV series, turn on a video game, gives you that instant dopamine release of a 1. So it's always much easier to go after these artificial stimulations than actually going and commit to getting into flow state, because you also know as a creative, like I'm also getting out of the flow states and then I'm back onto the hamster wheel again. And then you ask yourself, so why do all the effort if from that flow state I go back on the hamster wheel and everything keeps spinning? But if we learn to stay disciplined by keep creative for ourselves, to experience that inner satisfaction and stay connected with our intrinsic motivations for ourselves, we share it, that eventually if that can pay off, then we don't work for external things like money, fame, recognition. We work for ourselves, literally for our own joy, satisfaction, and things becomes a bit more unconditional, more authentic. And I think that's really what we are longing for, which is so difficult to create, to experience, to get into that, because we are bathing ourselves in the breath of capitalism that is all around us. We are in an environment that is breathing consumerism, materialism, so we constantly get these stimulations of what it is that we should be doing with ourselves. Hence why it's so challenging to go after our creative artistic endeavors, spiritual, mindfulness, meditation practice, because we think like, why bother putting the time into that? Well, I actually should be doing something productive, meaning going after what's out there, only to realize that's a path, that's a door we're trying to knock that doesn't seem to open for us in terms of satisfaction and fulfillment. So to sum it up, the real insight I wanted to give to you is that as deep thinkers, realign ourselves with that creative flow. That's where you will find your juice. Let me know what you got out of it. Please let me know. Simply drop a comment below, and I see you on one of my next ones. Take care for now.